And here you need to, as we have seen now, because to keep the delays within bound, we have to intersperse or segmentize our clock wire into buffers. So it is actually become a chain of buffers. The whole path becomes a chain of buffers, and now the total design now encompasses the wire design or the segment design as well as the buffer design. Okay, so as we did last time, we took one simple way of designing it, where we say, okay, total skew, whatever is permissible, I will budget it within the wire segment and the buffer, and accordingly I will try to design each. Okay, and here you can take a decision whether to take a wire minimum size or twice the size, taking the buffer load into account, the next stage wire load into account, or how to design the the two buffers such that even though there is a process variation, the skew remains within bound. So we can find out the relationship between their W by L so that whatever happens, our delay remains within bound. Okay, so we have seen a simple technique which can be further improved upon by using various mathematical algorithms, numerical analysis techniques, optimization problems, where you can not only optimize on the skew, you can also optimize together on the wire as well as the power consumption also. Okay, so you can look at the total problem as one such unit, keeping the different aspects within bound, or we can also look at it separately from each of by looking each one of them separately to understand each one in more detail. Ultimately, the design has to be one single design taking care of the optimum results of all the three parameters: power, delay, and the skew. Okay, but remember that clock distribution network or a CDN, whether you use a buffered clock tree or a buffered H tree or a buffered X tree or a buffered mesh, whatever you do, it is going to be accounting for nearly 30% of the total power of the chip. The reason, as I said, because it has the largest load, it operates at a highest frequency, and the probability of ticking is maximum, that is 1. So in any situation, total clock power is going to be huge in comparison to the total chip power. It is going to be a sizable portion of the total chip power. So if we can do something now, separately also, I know we can distribute, I can look at as an optimization problem, but can I find out some other ways focusing only on the power consumption? What are the different ways or techniques we can use to achieve a low power CDN? Now here I am not talking about the delay or the skews. When we say delay, you will say delay means skew. No, delay means the minimum time taken by the signal to move from point A to point B. That is known as the phase delay. Minimum time. I want signal to take minimum time. Okay, and also I want the skew. Skew is something between, it's a relative between the 2 points, 2 spatial points. Okay, so skew is related to clock delay, but then arrival of the signal at 2 different points with respect to each other. So that is skew. At the same time, I also want my phase delay. That means signal traveling from A to B must be taking minimum time. Okay, so now leaving aside this skew, leaving aside this delay, etc., let me look only at my power consumption, and mainly we will be looking at the dynamic power consumption, a component which is related to the clock frequency, which is a major source of power consumption. Okay, so here you can see we can very easily find out ways, either operate at a low frequency or reduce the capacitance, total capacitive load, or work with a smaller VDD. Now within this V square, as I told you earlier also, V is actually the VDD multiplied by the swing at the output node. It is actually, say if your swing is VDD, the total combination becomes VDD square. Otherwise it is actually the VDD and V out. Okay, so in what ways you can reduce, we have to look at this equation and try to find out the ways, techniques which can reduce either one of the factors. So we certainly, frequency we remove. We say, okay, frequency is something that we do not want to compromise. So let me not target my frequency. Let it be operating at a high speed. Okay, then is the C, capacitive loading. That is naturally you have to design so as to have a lesser capacitive load. As I said, you can go for, as we said, we were designing flip-flops where the clock load was one of our design metric. We were looking at how much is the clock load for every design of a flip-flop. Naturally, at the end of the distribution network, the signal will be giving to the flip-flops. So those will be your destination. So how much clock you will be driving, in between will be the buffers. So buffer capacitances will be the intermittent loads, intermittent capacitive loads. But at the end, it would be the destination points that is normally given to a flip-flops. Okay, so designing comes into picture the moment we look at the C. Now third is very promising, seems to be very promising, that is V. That is a voltage. So you operate at a lower VDD. That is one possibility, that you operate your supply voltage, make the supply voltage less. But then the moment you make the supply voltage less, the current of flip-flops, they reduce. Any flip-flop will have a drive current proportional to VDD. So lesser drive current it would be, that means through the data, if a data is flowing, look at the data line. The data is flowing, that will be getting delayed. So naturally you are compromising on your frequency. So I do not want my data to flow at a slower rate. And that is directly related to the supply voltage, because that decides your current driving capability of every flip-flop. So I certainly would not like to operate my data flow path at a lower VDD. Okay. So now again I need to take a decision. If this is also not possible, what else? Next is the output voltage swing. So V out swing. So here is these two things we would mainly be targeting. So what designers, they questioned themselves. They said, okay, data path you don't want to operate at a lower VDD. You do not want to reduce the clock frequency too. All we can do is that, because we aim to reduce the power of a clock distribution network, why not operate my CDN at a lower VDD? Let my data path be operating at a full VDD. So let me be working with a dual VDD approaches. So let me have two VDDs, VDD low and VDD high, which is possible with today's technology, CMOS technology. I know I will be having two VDD rails, but then this will have an added cost. It will save on my battery life. It will save on my power consumption. Yes, it will have a cost overhead. So this is one approach where we say, okay, the entire CDN operates at a lower VDD. Whereas your normal functions, they operate at a higher VDD. So again, naturally, we have to route a VDD low line as well as a VDD high line. Okay. Then there is a V out swing. That means you are not changing. Here we are not changing the supply. We said another technique is that you do not change the supply. Use some design technique to not allow the output voltage to rise to the full. Curtail its swing. Do not allow it to change from 0 to VDD every time it switches the output node. Why? Why is it needed? Why should I have a VDD square? Let it be VDD into VDD lesser value. VDD small or a V out small, which is less than, may not be full 3 volts, maybe only 1.2 volts. Then you would be again saving the power consumption. So these are actually the two main points on which people, they actually focused their work and they try to devise circuits, solutions which can reduce the power consumption. Okay. Apart from that, there was a concept of sleep. You have a sleep. There is something called a processor going to the sleep. So they say at any point, they did a survey and they found out that any point of time, it's nearly 30% processor is active. 70%, 60 to 70% processor is simply holding its state. It's not switching. So something which is not switching, why unnecessarily I should spend I should give my signal, clock signal, route my clock signal to it. It's unnecessarily because this output is never going to change. It has to maintain its state. So whatever is the previous value, it will be the same value. After all, even though it may be having a clock signal and every time there's a clock signal, there would be switching happening. So there's something called as a concept of clock gating, which is coming from the putting the certain modules of the processor to sleep mode. Or if not to sleep, actually it's not a sleep. What is done is that we isolate those portions. We say, okay, this portion is not going to change. As a result, my clock will not be routed to that portion. We take an intelligent. This is done at the systems level. This technique is called as a clock gating, where we say, I will not now send my clock directly. I will send my clock to a certain module or a block through an AND gate. A 2-input AND gate, and then we say clock can go forward only when the other input is high. And that other input is high is decided by the module, whether it is going to change its output, then only the clock should move forward, else it will not change. So that means for that duration, even though clock is ticking, that module will not be receiving any clock voltage. It will not be receiving any clock signal, so no switching will happen, no capacitances would be switched, no dynamic power consumption will take place. So this concept, clock gating itself, was found, so it was a very simple concept, but it led to a sizable reduction in the total power consumption of the processor, entire processor, not only CDN. So all clock waveforms by now they are all clock gated. All modules, they do not get a direct clock connection, they are always gated through a AND gate. Yes, there is a design overhead because the second output has to take stock of the working of the module and then give a feedback. Then only the clock has to move forward. There is a design overhead, but then clock saving, the power saving is huge. It is a large value. So very small technique called clock gating helped us. Apart from that, as I said, reducing the V out swing, working with dual VDD approach also helped us in reducing. All these techniques applied mainly to clock distribution network along with the processor. You can see the result now with your mobile phones, where you are able to work your mobile phones as the charging time is increasing. The interval between the charging is increasing. That is mainly the result of all the work that has been done by our designers in order to reduce the power consumption and increase the battery life. Okay. So let us start looking at some of the papers which came somewhere around in early 2000, which helped us in reducing the power consumption. Okay, so we say data circuits, all data circuits, they will be operating at full rails. We will not change, but the clock tree will operate at half rails. Okay, as I said, there is an overhead always there. So we have to bear with the overhead. So we have to design a low VDD clock tree, and here because we are using 2 VDD supplies for the entire processor, the approach is called as using multiple supply voltages. Okay, you may create a VDD low from VDD high inside by using a circuitry, but I think it's more of a very convenient for us to have a separate pin where you can maintain 2 different voltage levels of the VDD. People, they tried for circuits creating a VDD low from VDD high as well. You may find such references in the literature. So now, as we said, data path has to operate at full VDD. So that means the clock tree, it will be having a signal coming from the PLL. PLL will be giving you full waveform. I need to bring it down to say half the rail. So I need to have a high to low converter in the beginning of my clock tree, and then entire buffers in between, they will be operating at low VDD, and then towards the end or the destination, again I have to convert it back from low to high. So that means I would be designing a high to low converter and a low to high converter, and In internal buffers which will be operating at a low frequency, low VDD, they may be inverting, they may not be inverting. It depends on you, how do you design. So strategy is this, that if you have a clock tree, so here you have a high to low converter, signal is coming from a PLL, okay, and then in between there are all VDD low buffers, and somewhere towards the end it is a low to high converter, and then finally output is going to the flip-flops through which data is flowing. So how do you design? First task is, how do you design a high to low converter? Normally my buffer is a simple inverter. We assume that inverter is serving as a buffer, or you can have inverter pair as a buffer, whether you want polarity to be reversed or not. So if I use the same inverter, okay, and suppose I want to change a low to high converter. Low to high means, remember, at the end. This is at the end. You need to convert from low to high. Suppose your low VDD is 3 or 3.3 and you want to convert to 5 volts. Which circuit will you employ? Suppose I use the same inverter and my signal, initial signal coming from the previous buffer is waveform or a step input moving from 0 to 3.3. But output should be changing from 0 to 5. Output should be, this is what I desire, because my flip-flops, they are operating at 5 volt VDD. Okay, so I say, okay, let me not make any changes, let me use this as it is, this buffer as it is. What's the drawback? Can I use it? If I can use it, in what way it can be beneficial, or in what way it would be a problem for me? Now remember, this would be, highest point would be 0 or 3.3. This is VDD 5 volts, so naturally the current will flow and this node will fully charge to 5 volts. Okay, so naturally for a input 0 here, you will get a 5 volts here. And for an input 3.3 here, which would be sufficient to turn on this NMOS, it would discharge. So what's the drawback of using this driver? Can you identify the drawback of using this as a driver or simple L to H converter? Think of when this is 3.3 volts. It will not turn off PMOS completely. So there would be a difference of 1.5 or 1.7 volts, which will be turning on PMOS. It is like as if the pull-up is always on. When pull-down is on, the pull-up is always on, and there would be a static power consumption from VDD to ground. Continuous power consumption as long as there is a 3.3 volts at the center. So the whole concept of reducing power consumption has no meaning now here, because now your buffer itself, all the L to H converters will be dissipating a whole lot of static power consumption. So naturally I cannot use this as a L to H converter. It is not possible. Can I use it as a H to L converter? Can this circuitry be used as a high to low converter? Yes, it can be. There is no power issue here because input will be 5 volts. That will be completely turning off the PMOS, because VDD is only 3.3 volts. So this can easily be used as a high to low converter, but we cannot use it as a low to high. I need to redesign a low to high converter. Okay, so if you have to redesign a low to high converter, so different approaches were there. This is fun, where you use two supply voltages. One of the implementation using the concept of differential operation. So we have a V in, this is VDD high, maybe 5 volts, this is VDD low. So now, nowhere you are operating, you are giving your signal as 3.3 and your VDD is 5 volts. We are removing that possibility from our designing. So we are saying that, okay, my input is a 0 to 3 volt swing. This is also a 0 to 3 volt swing I want, because A complementary output is required over here. So I need an inverter operating with VDD low. And I design it, this is a cross-coupled DC VSL kind of an operation, which yields this output to be going to which value? High, low. If V in is high, what will be V out? High. This would be high. If V in is high, V out would also be high. Okay? Because if V in is high, M2 will turn on, this node will go down. As this node goes down, this PMOS turns up. It turns on, it charges this node. So it has the same polarity. It's a kind of a non-inverting using DC VSL. You are using, but here you are using two inputs are required, input and its complement, which has to be created by using a VDD. So circuits are not difficult to design. So only a little bit of thinking is required over here. You can design easily a good low to high converter. Plus this cross coupling will also help in reducing the power consumption, because one of the paths will completely be turned off at the same time. At the same time, when one path completely turns off, there is a fight between the two paths goes away. So it easily rises to its high or low value. It also helps in reducing the delay to a certain extent. Because if there is a fight, delay is tremendous. Because one path tries to charge, other path tries to discharge. So the moment is one path completely off, there is no competition. It's very easy for node either charge or discharge. Okay. Another possibility is this, which is again using a multiple supply voltage concept. Okay, what is happening here? Look very carefully. This is a low VDD, high VDD maybe, and this is output VDD, maybe high VDD. Okay, so this may be 3.3 volts, this may be 5 volts, and this is the inverter which is producing the output. Okay, so here is when input is 3 volts, this is an inverter, this is 0, 0 means MN is off. A 0 here means a 1 here. This 1 is a 3.3 which turns on this fast transistor. Okay, and this 0 moves here. And this 0 moves here. And this 0 now causes this node, or this node voltage reduces. It may not be full 0. Why? Because we know fast transistor NMOS is it is an NMOS, so it would be a good low pass. Okay, so this will increase. As a result, this will charge. So when Vin is high, I am getting a high output. Okay, what is critical? Operation wise, it is correct. When it is a 0 here, this is 1. 1 means this turns on. As this turns on, this is 0. This is 0. 0 means this is off. This is off. So nothing happens here. Okay, but here this transistor will take care. It will recharge this level to 1 so that this is completely off, and there is only discharge happening through this path. So this takes care only when this node is discharging. Then only this will turn on. Why do I need this? Because I want to turn off this MOS. I want to turn off this MOS. So if this is going low, then only this will turn on the feedback MOS. It will increase the voltage here, and slowly this will be reducing. As a result, this will go to full cutoff. Otherwise, it will have the same situation as the previous one. Power consumption, static power consumption will be there. So I have to find out a way to reduce the power consumption also. Okay. So what is the design criticality here? Sizing of feedback and this NMOS. And this NMOS. These two have to be sized properly such that you are able to get the correct voltage at this node. Otherwise, this path, if this starts dominating, because your actual dominating path is this. It is only a backup path, a kind of a backup which operates, which should come into action only when this is going low. Otherwise, the point here should be decided by this V. So, designing of these two must be done very carefully, else this will may result into a wrong operation. Again here we are using two different supply voltages. Okay, so this is again a low to high converter, which is consuming this power but having more complex circuit, but has more complex. So these are few designs that I have taken from the papers. This is a condition which you should have in order to design the two feedback as well as NMOS transistors properly, so as to have no wrong functionality coming up. Now another is a reduced swing approach, where we say I'm not using two different supply voltages. I am curtailing down the swing at the output node. So V out swing, that is what I am targeting. Okay. So one is that if you have different type of possibilities, suppose this is an inverter you take. Okay. So whatever this V clock will come to this node. This VDD will come over here. Now if this is the VDD, okay, in how many different ways you can change your VDD level or voltage level at a node, at a particular node. If you go for this, nothing changing, this VDD will come over here, depending on the suitable inputs provided at this. Now if this is what, okay, I am saying this is 1 and I am providing a 0 over here, both are on. It's kind of a voltage divider you are creating. Can you see? It's a series of N transistors, all are on. All are on. So I'm creating a kind of a resistor ladder implemented by using MOS transistors. And as a result of each one, the potential at this point will be, as depending on number of transistors you have in the chain, it will go on reducing. So the value will be reduced, as if you have a drop across every resistor. Okay. Another method is this. What is this? How is this different from this? Look very carefully. This is not a PMOS. This is NMOS. Whereas here you have a PMOS. This is where you are creating a resistor ladder. Here I am saying I am not creating a resistor ladder. I am going to change PMOS with NMOS. I am going to change PMOS with NMOS, and this technique is used here. Look very carefully. A PMOS you are using, sorry. Yes, a PMOS you are using over here. Okay, this is 1 and this is 0. A 0, both are on. Both are on. But as the signal travels from VDD to this node, there would be one VT when both are on. There is always a 1 VT loss. So if we not more, we can at least have 1 VT reduction if designed properly. Using this technique, I can have at least 1 VT. So can I now recreate my intermediate buffers now? I'm not talking of a converter here and a converter here, a low to high or high to low. I'm taking of intermediate buffers which are operating with a reduced swing. They may also operate at a lower VDD. That anyway is going to reduce your power consumption. At the same time, I also want my output node swing to get reduced. So I have to do not allow my output node voltage to go to the full VDD or have a full swing from 0 to VDD or VDD to 0. So you can create now any circuit that you want. Maybe a starting network can be, as I said, a high to low converter. A complete CDN you can visualize where you have initially a high to low converter. Very simple, it can be a simple. What is this doing? Tell me. A high to low converter. It's a high to low converter. Now this is a reduced swing approach. Don't go for look for VDD. VDD means you should be having 3 volts over here. I am saying reduced swing approach. Reduced swing approach. That my output is not having a swing complete 0 to VDD or VDD to 0. This is still the full VDD you are getting, 5 volts. I could have chosen a VDD high also. I could have chosen the design that I have shown you just previously. You can put that over here. But suppose I want to reduce my swing without changing VDD. What will you do? This is 5. Input signal is changing from 0 to 5. I want the output to be reduced to 4 volts. So what you have done actually, you have interchanged NMOS and PMOS. I did that change in the previous slide only for PMOS. Now I will be also doing it for NMOS. Let me interchange. Let me change my PMOS by NMOS and NMOS by PMOS. 1 VT change we will get. So this will not rise more than 4 volts and this will not go down less than 1 volt. Your swing reduces by 2 volts. It is a reduced swing approach I am taking. I am not talking of a low VDD. VDD is still 5 volts. Okay? But your swing has reduced from 0 to 5 to 1 to 4. So lowest signal will be 1 volt. And I should take care that this 1 volt is sufficient to drive the next stage. It is taken as a logic level 0 by the next stage, else my function will be wrong. That caution I have to take. That caution you have to take. Okay. So this is, I am saying now my intermediate signals which is passing through my buffered clock tree, through all the buffers will be changing from 1 volt to 4. Now this 1 to 4 volt will be going to the second inverter. Again a reduced swing approach I am giving you. Okay. So this 1 volt, actually what I want is an inverter over here which is operating with a VDD of 4 volts and a ground of 1 volt. What does this swing tell me? That you should have a VDD of 4 volt and a ground of 1 volt. Because otherwise, the moment you have either 0 or 5, there will be static power consumption because you will not be able to turn off NMOS or PMOS completely. So we want to save on power. How can we do it in a reduced swing approach? Is that recreate your VDD and ground. Actual VDD and ground is 5 volts and 0, but I have to recreate through my design a VDD of 4 volt and a ground of 1 volt, and this is done by modifying your inverter. Once again, this is your normal inverter. I add a PMOS diode connected PMOS up and a diode connected NMOS down. This is my modified VDD. And I need to design this such that this value is just close to 1 VTP such that the difference comes to VDD minus VTP, which I can configure it to be equal to 4 volts. I can design. Similarly, I put a diode connected NMOS over here so that this node voltage does not go below the VTP of this MOS. And suppose I choose the transistor to have a VTP of 1 volt, this will stay at 1 volt. As if these two transistors are forming an inverter with a VDD of 4 volt and a ground of 1 volt. And a ground of 1 volt, then this signal of 1 volt to 4 volt can easily pass through this and you will get a signal changing from 4 volt to 1 volt. I can have all my intermediate buffers formed by using this strategy, using reduced swing approach. Okay, and then I say, okay, at the end I have to get a low to high converter. Again design one low to high converter. So either you choose the one that we have designed using multiple supply voltages, or do it by using reduced swing approach. The design is shown over here. You can find various other designs in literature also. You take it as a home assignment. And design a low to high converter on your own using reduced swing approach. Using reduced swing approach. You can either analyze this one, or there are few more are there which you can use. It may be a complex circuitry involving too many buffers, but I would request you to focus as far as possible not to use multiple supply voltages. Try to do it using a single supply voltage, but with proper designing, MOS transistor designing. Okay, it's again you need to design a low to high converter for using a reduced swing approach. It's like you have a complete strategy now available to you which works only with a reduced swing approach, where you have a high to low converter, intermediate buffers, and a low to high converter once again. So high to low, intermediate, and low to high, sorry. Okay, and now you can mix. You have the multiple supply voltage concepts, you have the reduced swing approach, whichever way you want to do, you can do. Think of your own ways, think of your own circuits, scan through literature, try to find out new possible ways which I have not included in my slides, but they are there. So think of variant ways in which you can design such converters which can lead to power saving of power consumption. One paper that was specially or that was very much cited in when you go through this literature is working with half swing. Half swing. They say, okay, we know that clock distribution now you can reduce power by different techniques now. But your data path is working with a full supply rail. Can you design those flip-flops still with power supply of full value, but with a reduced swing? Because your clock is going to the flip-flop ultimately. It's a data path through which data is flowing. So can I redesign those flip-flops, okay, which can work with reduced clock swing? Let me not go for a low to high converter. Let me not go for a low to high converter. Whatever low to high value I am getting, can I make my flip-flops to operate with those low to high clock signals? No, not low to high, the low swing clock signals. Can I make? So here they say, okay, if somehow I would be able to generate a half clock swing means clock changing from 0 to half VDD or half VDD or VDD to half VDD. You are curtailing down the swing. You are not allowing the clock waveform to change by more than half. It can be VDD to half VDD. It can be 0 to half VDD or half VDD to 0 or half VDD to full VDD. At any point of time, we do not allow clock waveform to have more than half the swing. Okay, if it is possible, then can I redesign those flip-flops which are there in the data path, in the pipeline, to work with these half clock swings? And hence they devised a strategy called half swing clock, which operate, so they designed a complete strategy, especially targeting the flip-flops which are receiving the half clock swings. So let us see what they did. They actually targeted or looked at the C-square MOS, or clocked CMOS flip-flops. We all know what is a clocked CMOS flip-flop, how to compute the configuration. You can have a refresh path also. You can have a static implementation or a dynamic implementation. They said, okay, let me use a C-square MOS implementation in my data path. Okay, and I have my clocks now given to them. I will give my clocks given to them, and I will be saying that look very carefully what is that. So I would be generating the 4 clock signals naturally. 4 clock signals are required now. From master clock, you need to generate 4 different phases. One changing from 0 to half VDD, other changing from half VDD to VDD, the third one VDD to falling down to half VDD and half VDD to 0. So there are 4 clocks would be required. So naturally there is a design overhead. So now we have clock PB, clock PT, clock NB and clock NT. 4 phases are there. Okay. So these two are swinging between VDD and half VDD. Whereas these two are swinging between 0 and half VDD. And this is your data. Look very carefully. This is a C square MOS implementation. It's a C square MOS. Okay, this may be a master. This can be a slave. And output is fed back to the master through Q is fed back to the master. This is static. It's a static master slave flip-flop. A C square MOS implementation. Everybody recognizes it? Ideally, what I would have done? I would have given a clock here and a clock bar to these two. I hope everybody remembers the clock CMOS implementation. And this you would have given this as a switch. So this you would have given as the clock, and so this would have got a clock bar. Or if this is clock bar, this would be the clock. And data goes to the upper points. This is the data point. So when this is on, it behaves like a inverter to which data D is applied and you get a D bar. So this opens up in clock bar, opens up in clock phase. It's a master slave configuration. Okay. So now look very carefully, how will it operate? This is how you are generating the 4 clock waveforms. So clock PT and clock PB. Okay, so then it is rising, PT is rising from half to full VDD. The PB is falling from full VDD to half VDD. Look very carefully. Similarly, clock NB and clock NT, again they are complementary clock waveforms, swinging only between 0 and half VDD. So what do you expect when you are giving a clock NT over here and a clock NB over here? Which one will be on, which one will be off? NT is here and NB is here. When NT is on, NB is off. So need I explain the operation? At any point of time, either a slave stage is on or a master stage is on. At any point of time, data moves only by one stage. Data moves by only one stage. But at any point of time, the signal is never crossing half VDD mark. The swing is only, so if you look at this capacitance switching, the capacitance at this node is switching. It is switching by only half VDD. Swing. Clear? So can you see that this is also swinging by half VDD? This is also swinging by half. No, you have a gate capacitance here, a gate capacitance here, a gate capacitance here, here, everywhere you have a gate capacitance switching whenever clock or clock bar is ticking. Now here we are reducing all these gate capacitances not to switch by more than half VDD. But you are still working with a full supply voltage. You are still working with a full supply voltage. Yes, there is a design overhead of designing the 4 phases from the clock. So how do you design these 4 phases? That again we need a circuitry. Again we require a circuitry. How do we design that? So a circuit has been proposed like where you use 4 inverters. 1 inverter, second, third and fourth, along with 2 high valued capacitors added in parallel. This is half VDD. You need to generate a half VDD point because that is crucial to all the clock swings. We have the VDD point, but we have the 0 point also. We also require a half VDD. So they are not using a second pin carrying a half VDD signal. They said, okay, let us try to generate it on chip. So they proposed a circuitry where they are generating a half VDD point by using 2 extra large capacitors and 4 inverters, thereby generating the 4 waveforms required. How is it done? Look very carefully. This is 1 inverter, this is another inverter, a third inverter and a 4th inverter. Suppose this signal is 1. So this would be 0. So this would be 1. Look at the red points. Okay, this 1 means this is on, M8 is on. At the same time, M6 is also on. At the same time, this is 0. 0 means M3 is on. And M1 is on. Rest all transistors are off. Now, at every node, there is a parasitic capacitance attached. Let me represent them as C1, this as C2, this as C3, and this as C4. Okay, now I say, look at these 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, all other paths are off. So, what is the path from VDD to ground available? Let me look for through which a current can flow. Nodes can charge. That would be through C2, through M6 which is on, and then from here to M3, and then from here to C3. Okay? We are not talking about CA and CB. That anyway is the path available to you. Through transistors. Through transistors. Similarly, if you look for the green things, the path available is from here to here. Okay? Now, it is forming a kind of a capacitor divider. You have a CA, CB. So, what will be the potential at the middle point, at the half VDD point? I need to generate a half VDD point. So, what is the potential available at this point is that, look very carefully, this is like a closed switch, as if C2 and CA come in parallel. Similarly, here, this is on, it's like a closed switch, as if C3 and CB come in parallel. So, it's forming a capacitor divider with CA plus C2 and CB plus C3. CB plus C3. So, using a capacitor divider relationship, this node voltage, you will have a transient current flowing, and the node voltage will charge to a value that is, I think this value, this expression. Now, I want this point to be half VDD value. So, I need to choose my values of CA and CB such that this corresponds to half. This ratio goes to half. And this is possible only if C2 and C3 are negligible. So, it's mainly CA by CA plus CB. I can choose CA, CB to be equal. Large value, it comes out to be nearly half. So, after initial some 3-4 cycles, which will be required for charging, then this point HVDD will come to the half VDD point. And then your CPT will be swinging from VDD to only, this ground is half VDD. CKPB will also be swinging from VDD to half VDD. And these two will be swinging from half VDD to full VDD. Static power. Do you have a continuous path? Through capacitors, there is no capacitive path. Static current cannot flow. Only during transient conditions it will flow. So static power consumption can happen only when there is a continuous path available for transient condition. Once transient conditions subside, there will be no transient current. So once HVDD comes to the node, there would be no current flow after that. So this is known as a half-swing clocking scheme, and it was reported at that time that the power consumption reduces drastically in comparison to the other strategies that are in use at that time. Okay. There are other low power buffer design clock on demand. As I said, clock gating is one of the clock on demand, dual edge triggered flip-flop, clock gating as I said. And this is only the few slides that I have added. If anybody is more interested, can go through literature. Many other techniques they have been put forward. Some work at the chip level, some are commercialized, some are not commercialized because they were not giving best results. But then at least people, a lot of effort was put on by the designers during that era, early 2000, which ultimately lead to a sizable reduction in the power that our current chips are consuming. Okay. So this is all that I have to now discuss in the clock distribution network. That will be a part of your course for your mid-semester. Whatever I have covered today is a part of the CDS. Okay? PLL I will not be covering in the exam. Okay? Exam will be, what do you want, closed book, open book? Then your compre will be, okay, open book or partly open book. Okay. So this will be closed book. Don't worry about the exam. It seems you are very much worried about the exam. So no need not worry about it. Okay. So next class, I think we have extra class at 4 p.m. So may I take it? I will be starting with synchronizers. It will not be a part of your exams. Okay, but I will be starting with synchronizer. Okay. I hope Goa people are free at from 4